Hey guys, so from Test Glory to SA20. I said it like that on purpose because I'm a guy that likes the longer format, as you guys all know on the show. When the SA20 comes around, I'm not maybe as excited as maybe a lot of you guys are out there. I'm not a big fan of the shorter format of this game, but it is quite difficult for me to switch now from seeing that magnificent Test series and then going into basically SA20, which is obviously a more fast-paced cricket, a lot about big sixes, fours, boundaries, and the more exciting side of the entertainment factor when it comes to the sport. But I'm not going to slate it because it has a place within our game. So today I'm going to be dedicating the show in two parts. I'm going to be talking about the test, and I'm going to be bringing on someone that was in the press box with me. It's someone that you guys may have seen before as well on the channel. And he used to write quite a few pieces for Cricket Fanatics magazine at the beginning. And now he's a big time journal, and he's really growing in the industry, and he's writing for a very good publication. So we're going to introduce him on the show a little bit later, and we're going to be discussing Test cricket, and then we're going to move into SA20, and we're going to bring Stuart on when he is available a little bit later to talk about the SA20, which he is pretty excited about actually. When I think about this particular show. So, but before we get going, before we get started with today's show, there's a couple of things I'd like you guys to please do. First and foremost, smash that like button, comment, share, and subscribe. Please click that notification bell as well for all future videos. It's very important that you guys comment on the videos after the stream has ended, because that's how we get into the recommended feeds on YouTube. So please go ahead and do so for me. And of course, you need to smash that like button as well. We also have a digital magazine, which is obviously the crux of this particular business that we have here. This publication is all about our digital mag. So please go and download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics magazine monthly and subscribe. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every month. The link is on the screen right now as well as in the description. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's show. I'm looking forward to this one. A lot of exciting things to talk about. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine, and this is your live cricket show. I'm your host, Khalid, and today I'm going to be joined by a couple of interesting people on today's show, interesting guests. First one is obviously Keenan. Welcome to the show, buddy. Long time no see. I don't ever call you buddy. I don't know what I did there now. But anyway, so how you doing, bro? Nice to see you, and always great to talk to you about some cricket. You were obviously there at the test as well, but just introduce yourself to the people out there and let them know who you write for, etc., and where they can find your content.
Yeah, firstly, thanks for having me on the show. I love being here. I love talking about cricket, and this is an opportunity to do it. So thanks again for inviting me. Yeah, I work for Daily Maverick at the moment. I do all sports for them, but my main beat is cricket. So if you want to find my content, www.dailymaverick.co.za. That will be under the sports tab. Um, that's where you'll find my content.
Yeah, he's been writing some brilliant pieces, guys. Please go read it. That he's awesome. I love his understanding of the game and the way he expresses it. So please go and follow him and all of those things. Keenan, let's talk about this test match, because this test series actually as a whole was quite an exciting one from a South African perspective. I thought that the quality of cricket was actually pretty great. From my perspective, as a new, if you were going to come in as a neutral, I don't think maybe as a Pakistan fan, people might have enjoyed it as much maybe as what South
Mm,
Africans did. But I like the fact that we could see matches that had runs on the board. And that's the thing from a second standpoint that we've been struggling with. You have to say, obviously, we did a review of the first test match, and all of you guys obviously know we won by 2 wickets. It was a match that saw South Africa score 300, but that was a little bit low scoring on that Centurion wicket. It wasn't necessarily a wicket that maybe was that we used to at Centurion. You were there, you were at the game. Keenan, tell us about, first and foremost, about that match, and what impressed you the most about the players from both sides, actually.
Yeah. Um, I thought the quality of cricket was not the best in the first match, but I thought that produced a great match overall. A lot of batters giving their wickets away, especially from Pakistan side, getting set and then throwing it away. I mean, Saad Shakil scored a brilliant, I think, 87 or 89, and then he goes out on a full toss by Jansen, for example. But yeah, I thought in the first days, Kamran Ghulam impressed me a lot. Came in at number 4, obviously didn't kick on at Newlands when there were runs to be had. Um, Unfortunately, I think Rizwan also same thing, got set across both test matches, didn't kick on. Nasim Shah with the ball was a bit disappointing. He's the fastest bowler um, on paper across the two teams probably, but he didn't show that on pitches that would assist him. So that was a bit disappointing. But the person that impressed me the most was, I think, Mohammad Abbas. I saw something I've never seen before. He bowled 4 overs the evening of day 3 in at Supersport Park. 4 brilliant overs, took 2 wickets, came back the next day, bowled 15.3 overs on the trot after that. I've never seen that before. It was incredible. And he single-handedly kept Pakistan in that match. It was absolutely incredible to see a fast bowler put in a shift like that. It's yeah, like I've said before, I've never seen that before, so that was exceptional to witness. And then obviously at Newlands it was two teams, I think, at playing very good cricket, playing the standard of cricket really increased at Newlands. The batters really dug in. Um, I thought Shan Masood in that second innings was he, when things were tough, the wickets were falling, needed a captain's innings. He did that. He provided. I thought that was brilliant in the second innings at 144, 145. He scored. Rickleton, obviously, really doubts were there about where they keep his place at Newlands. Where, luckily for him, or not luckily for him, but Tony Lasorzi got injured. He kept his place, and he just really cemented that position. And it's impossible to drop him now after a brilliant 259. That was the best I've ever seen him bat in international cricket. I had my doubts personally about him, whether he could play international cricket, whether his technique was suited for the longer format of the game.
Mm-hmm.
But he obviously tightened up. He also mentioned that batting at 3 or batting top of the order tightens up his game, and he showed that at Newlands. It was a brilliant innings. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a pity because I was hoping and crossing fingers that we would get a 5-day test match. We haven't seen that in so long that, especially at Newlands after that 2-day against India, it was obviously going to be a big call and test for the groundsman and Brahm at the stadium this time around. I did chat to him before the test, and he did look at me and he said, "Don't worry, it's going to be a good wicket." So I believed him, and it actually ended up being quite a good batting wicket. I mean, our bowlers did struggle though quite a bit to try and take wickets in particular segments of the test match, but that's how test should be. It shouldn't just be
Mm,
one-sided. There should be days when it is going to favor the batters, and there should be days when it is going to favor the bowlers. What I like the most about Test cricket is exactly that: being able to read the conditions, knowing when to do what at what particular time, and actually have that type of strategies in place to be able to outthink the other team. That's the main thing for me about Test cricket that I love so much. You have so much time to actually come up with a plan. My I would probably say the one negative I'll take from the test is that unfortunately I didn't get to see someone who has really become one of my favorite players in world cricket at the moment, and someone that really won me over in this particular series because it's actually the first time I actually got to see him play. I actually took time out to actually watch him throughout the series, T20s, ODIs, and now Test matches, and he was missing obviously through injury in this last game. Saeem Ayub, a youngster, brilliant player. I was a bit upset that we didn't get to see him. I think it would have been a completely different game in that second innings if he was available to bat,
Mm,
because it was looking at one point, particularly on day three. It was looking at some point that, you know what, Pakistan's going to dig here and really going to push South Africa and
mm,
really maybe stretch the game longer from that perspective. So
mm,
yeah, I think from a batting perspective was brilliant. But let's move to South Africa.
mm,
What's impressing you the most about this test unit?
mm.
Because I mean,
Um,
these are a bunch of guys that are maybe not as experienced.
mm. I think
Yeah.
the thing that's impressed me is the fact that it's different guys standing up at different moments in the game. It's not a
Mm,
side where we're relying on one or two guys. I mean, Rickelton, he scored his first century in Gqeberha against Sri Lanka, and then he scores another one now. But it's not someone who like we've relied upon to score those runs. It's just he's the one that happens to score it in that moment. Um, same with Aiden Markram was brilliant in Supersport Park. He didn't show up on a flat deck in Newlands, but he was there on a tough deck at Supersport Park, and he was player of the match. Janssen has been player. He was player of the series now. Also very he's gone under the radar. I felt so it's different players standing up at different moments. I think maybe for KG and Timber, I think they've been performing basically every game this summer. Or for the last while, they've shown up every game. But the rest of the side, it's just different guys standing up, and it's never you never almost sort of worried about who's it going to be because you know it's going to be someone. So that's been a real standout from
mm,
the South African perspective that they more than a sum of their parts
yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
That's I think
They
the biggest strength here.
Yeah, they also
Mm,
growing nicely as a unit, man. Like that
mm,
point
mm,
is a very interesting point because I agree with you wholeheartedly there. Because what I love about it is that we get to see these players actually become key parts of the arsenal for specific situations. Like for example,
mm,
Calvarena. We know that what his specialty is. We see him for the Western Province when the team is in trouble. He comes and he digs in and he scores big runs. That's always been his like MO throughout his career
mm,
at Cobras and in Western Province. So we're starting to see him now do those type of things for the Proteas. You know, we're in trouble,
mm,
digs us
mm,
out of our hole. Then you've got the
mm,
guys that are supposed to be a little bit more explosive, so a little bit
mm,
more attacking. For example, we've got the likes of Aiden Markram, who
mm,
tends to be that type of guy that bats a little quicker than maybe some of the other openers
mm,
that we've had in the past. And then you've got like a Tristan Stubbs and a David Bedingham, who's supposed to be your more explosive type of players. Now, I was a little
mm,
bit worried about Bedingham, but that last
mm,
innings from South Africa when they were chasing 58 or a target of 58 at least to win, he really turned it on, and I was really happy to see that he actually finally came into his own and at least got a
mm,
good knock before we go to Lords. That
mm,
game, that match, or that innings was almost like a you could say to an extent a play saving one, because people
mm,
were having their doubts and starting to think maybe we should, you know, maybe leave him out of the side, maybe going into Lords, which is something that I wasn't
mm,
keen on because I know that this guy has experience playing in England and knows those conditions
mm,
well, scores like 1,000 runs almost every season in his
mm,
county. So
mm,
from the batter's perspective, like what was it that excited you the most? I know obviously we had a double ton from
mm,
Ryan, and then we also, I mean, second highest score at Newlands ever. So
mm,
it was an amazing feat from him. And then obviously we've got
mm,
that Calvarena knock as well. That was quite impressive.
mm.
But where do you feel that we are in the improvements over there? What worried you a bit about this batting unit? Is there any worries that you have, or are you feeling quite comfortable about this unit?
I think that the concern that there is as you've mentioned, it's an inexperienced batting lineup. So what comes with that is sometimes a lack of consistency because of the inexperience. Um, we're not seeing guys uh, score every game, for example, but they do score. for like Bellingham, for example, he's extremely experienced on the first class scene. He went through a bit of a slump, but it's good to see, like as you mentioned, that knock he played. I think it was really good for his confidence. Not that he just seems like someone who's really low on confidence. He just carries himself well. He took a couple of outstanding catches, for example. Usually when guys on scoring runs, heads go down and it affects the other parts of the game. With him, it doesn't. His fielding was brilliant, for example. He took brilliant 4 catches in the first innings, one good one of Kesh at short leg. But I think a small concern and where improvements are needed is experience. I mean, is consistency, but it's hard to find that consistency, I think, without experience. Bidders, uh, Bidders, Tony, Ricks, and Stubbs, none of them have played more than 15 test matches, for example, and they 4 of our top 6 batters. So I think time will help these guys. Definitely. I think maybe playing some county cricket, just playing more cricket. I think that would really help these guys just find that sense of consistency. But it's also extremely difficult to be ultra critical on these guys who, like we've said, haven't played that much at the highest level and are still off. They're still finding their feet at that level.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's like a learn on the job type of thing at the moment with the amount
Yeah.
of test cricket we play. We don't really play much test cricket. I mean, I really wish there could be more eight words, etc., so that these guys can
Mm,
play more red ball cricket because, I mean, even in a domestic setup, we're not playing that many domestic games, and it's always interrupted with something. We have
mm,
like a little stint of red ball, and then we switch to other formats, and then we back to red ball again to end of the season. So it's like it's madness at the moment the way the schedules are being organized, etc. Because I can see it. Maybe with particularly probably with Markram, you can see the difficulties of switching because
mm,
he didn't find form in any of the formats, and he was off form in T20s and ODIs, and then as well as in
mm,
Test for a little bit of a time. But he seems to like
mm,
start to find himself in Test cricket again, and then all of a sudden he needs to
mm.
switch to another format that he's struggling in
Yeah,
again. So it's like it
yeah,
doesn't give the guys enough time or to settle
yeah.
in. I mean, if you had a 5 test series or 3 4 test series, 4 match test series, I mean, it would be giving them a lot more time to start to rectify their mistakes and actually get into the groove of
Mm,
things.
mm, yeah. It's so funny watching obviously keeping an eye on the Border Gavaskar trophy series that recently concluded over in Australia. And guys, just it happens in 2 ways. You either struggle to with form and then you pick it up as the series goes on, or you have come in with great form and it starts to win away. KL Rahul's an example of that, where he started that series on fantastic form, and then his form started to just wean off as the longer the series goes. But we don't know the character of our players, which sort of players we have, because we don't play those series, which is so unfortunate. Like it would be a fascinating watch to see these guys. Can Timber Bavuma, for example, can his body hold 5 test matches? We don't know the answer to those questions.
Mm,
We saw him struggle with injuries and so on, but like it would be so fascinating to just watch our players, what to see what they are capable of in these longer series. But yeah, it's extremely unfortunate to that we don't get this series, and it's almost heartbreaking that we don't get
mm.
to see our players in those environments. But yeah, it would be a wonderful
Yeah.
watch. Yeah.
And that's why I trust Coach Shukri so much, with the knowledge that he has from being part of High Performance Academy for a long time. When a lot of these guys were younger players, and the SAA side and the emerging side. And then obviously,
Mm,
before that, he obviously saw some greats played under him, Callis and Gibbs and all of those type of guys. You've Graham Smith, all of those type of guys would have come across Shukri in their time. So you've got those people that the experienced guys that obviously put South Africa on really on the map and continued the strength of South African cricket and grew it. And then you've got he was also then obviously involved with the Lions at first, with the B side. So
mm,
obviously that would have given him a hell of a lot of experience getting to know the next line and the next generation. So he's coached right through the ranks even, and then he was a under 19 coach
mm,
where he was with the likes of Dieval Brevis and those guys. So it's awesome to see, to know that he knows these players, their true, it almost is like that he knows their true identity,
mm,
behind their
mm,
the image, or the facade that they put on to the public, or whatever the case may be.
mm,
He knows that the real human beings ultimately. And I think his
mm,
teaching background as well gives him maybe a very good sense of character, or judge. He's a good judge of
mm,
character to understand what is going up here, man. Because in test cricket, we know that it's how challenging it is. If your mental is gone, it's very difficult for you to succeed in test cricket. And I almost
mm,
feel like he can suss out from a player whether they are willing to take up the challenge, or whether they're going
mm,
to tuck their tails between their legs and try and shy
mm,
away from challenges. So
mm,
that's, I feel, is a massive aspect that's really putting some sort of identity into this team. Like for the
mm.
first time in a long time, I actually feel there's an identity in this team
Yeah,
where they are
yeah,
actually a collective.
yeah. And speaking on that, it's we spoke to Kwena Mapaka after the day's play
Yeah,
at Newlands after the fourth day, and he was coached by Shukri when he was 15 years old in the under 19 setup. And that just speaks to what you spoke to, where he knows these players inside out. A different coach probably wouldn't have selected him for that test match. But Shukri knows these guys, and he trusts him. He knows Kwena's character. Quena bowled an incredible spell on day four, just before and after lunch. He bowled, I think, one over off before lunch and six overs after. It was an incredible spell. He wasn't brilliant throughout the test. Not that we expected him to be brilliant on his debut test at 18 years old, but he bowled a phenomenal spell. Him and KG broke that stand. Sal Shakil and Shan Masood, they were they were batting easily on the track, and then Quena from one end, KG from the other end, just steaming in, bowling brilliantly. And it was so good that he was given the new ball, the second new ball. 18-year-old on debut, given the second new ball. That's the talent of the man and the character of the man that, despite not bowling particularly well, I think throughout the test he had the ability to come back, and his the ability to hold his head up high and still run in and bowl that incredible spell against the wind, against that southeasterly. Um, so yeah, I thought that's phenomenal from him and the team. And yeah, like you said, he's worked um, through the ranks with all the players, and the identity of the team is one of grit. I think Tristan Stubbs, like his position in the team was questioned when he was brought in, bat number 3 against India when he made his debut. But the character of Tristan Stubbs is like
yeah,
the failures that he's had recently, that means absolutely nothing. You can watch him light up the SA20 now, which is obviously a different format, but he's got the self-belief, he's got the character, he's got the grit, he's got the determination to succeed despite everything else and despite whatever else has happened. And these are the guys that Shukri Conrad has brought into the team. And I think also it's it's a team that is led by someone who exemplifies all those characteristics in Temba Bavuma. There's no one in South African cricket that has been criticized more than Temba Bavuma.
yeah,
Look at him now. Despite everything, look at him now. When he walked out at Supersport Park, people were on their feet cheering for him to go and bat. When he scored, when he got 50 at Newlands, people were on their feet singing Temba Bavuma. 100, same thing. And that's a man that was criticized by the public to no end. That's turned things around like that, and that just shows the character of the man, the grit, the determination, the resilience, and that's yeah, that's I think the type of people that Shukri Conrad has gotten in the side that are like that, and it can only lead to good things in our test cricket, and it has led to a good thing. It's led us to Lords. So yeah, I think it's a team of character that he has built. I agree with you completely there.
yeah. I mean, it was a really enjoyable to be able to witness some good quality test cricket. I'm happy with the result, of course. I mean, I was happy already in Centurion. We're in the championship final now, and it's going to be a tough task no matter who we get. I mean, and it's one of those things where I feel if South Africa, it's almost set up for South Africa to somehow just click there, everybody together. That
Mm,
we've had trials, we've had tribulations, people have stepped up here and there. We just need them all to step up in one match, and that will
yeah.
really. And if they do, I mean, we know cricket's a game of failure.
Mm,
It's a game where you fail more than you succeed, and ultimately that
mm,
is just the case when it comes to this. So yeah, we're going to have to now switch off from Test cricket, and now move forward. And yeah, it's crazy. It's going to be for the Proteas next. Is obviously the Champions Trophy, which I'm not really looking forward to. I'm not feeling very confident about our one day side as I do about our Test side, which is crazy to think, because when
yeah.
we started this whole coaching changes, we were feeling a lot more confident actually about our white ball side, and I thought that
Yeah.
that was a lot more straightforward to pick than our Test side would be. But that Test unit is just being managed correctly. It's been coached correctly.
Mm,
It's just it's fantastic, and it's crazy because a lot of those players actually play in the ODIs sides
yeah.
and the T20 sides, and yet we are not seeing a translation in the culture and in the performances in the other formats.
Yeah. Yeah. Completely. I
Mm.
think is I don't know what's gone on there that's happened. Obviously it's hard to judge Rob Walter though too harshly considering he's done well at every White Ball World Cup he sent the team to. So that's quite interesting. But I'm hoping for the best. His tournament stats are quite good, Rob Walter. So hopefully he can turn it around and South Africa can really surprise us and do well at that tournament at the Champions Trophy. So
Yeah,
yeah, we'll see. Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, but obviously, yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see what
yeah,
happens with that. But now we're going to move on. We're going to have to switch to SA20. I was at the breakfast this morning, the captain's breakfast this morning. Made a little bit of a blunder in the press conference, but it is what it is. I think I'm allowed one mistake every 1 year, one mistake a year.
yeah.
Was completely not
Was it?
focused on. uh, I wasn't really focused on what the lady was actually saying with regards to that, because I was busy also looking at the content we were creating on the, as well, and
Yeah.
focused there. And I asked the question to Rashid prematurely before she actually introduced the captains. It was only supposed to be questions for Graham Smith, so I messed that one
Uh,
up a
uh,
little bit, and they were quite
what?
completely frazzled by it. Mics weren't
uh,
working. There was like a whole
uh,
move I messed up
dude,
that, but it is what it is.
I had this a similar blunder in the Kyle Verreynne presser. I don't know if you recall. Um, During the test series when I was supposed to ask a question and they handed me the mic and I just went blank. I completely forgot my question. And and I said,
Happens.
I forgot my question and I just handed the mic to Zahir or someone. And then they came back to me afterwards. But yeah, nervous 90s, as they say. Nervous
Yeah,
90s.
it happens, man. It happens because I mean, like, look here. I mean, I've been doing it. I've been working really hard this last week, man. And it's not just
Yeah,
with the tests and stuff. I'm helping out a little bit at Newlands as well in the media center. So it's crazy because the amount of work that gets put into prepare for tests. You know, the preparation that we
yeah,
have to do so that we are sorted, super sports sorted, the VOC is all the cops and everything are sorted. So the venue before to set it up all before matches is it's madness. I haven't been getting a lot of sleep, so it's not an excuse. I should have been switched on, but it happens to all of us. I mean, I apologized to the host for doing that, but she said no, it's okay. It broke the ice, so I take her word for it. But at least I've explained myself to you guys all on the channel that are watching right now. So forgive me for that one. I did come back with a faf question later on to the right person at the right time. Okay, so let's move into the SA20. We've got that going for us. Welcome to the show, Stuart. You guys obviously know Stuart quite well now. He comes on quite a few shows. I'm gonna just start off with your thoughts and how you're feeling ahead of this SA20 campaign. So I'm gonna start with Stuart and then move to Keenan. How are you feeling ahead of this? Are you guys excited? Or are you looking forward to this campaign? Did you enjoy the other two campaigns? Where are you sitting as fans?
Yeah, so for me personally, I am quite excited about it. Looking at the overseas players that are playing, like Kane Williamson, Stoinis, Joe Root, I think it will only benefit our local cricketers. Um, I think the standard over the past few years has been amazing. I would like, I'm sorry if this is controversial, but personally, I'd like another team other than Sunrisers to win this year, preferably the Capitals, just saying.
Controversial.
Uh,
You a Pretoria Joburg guy. Why would that be controversial?
no, I just didn't want to actually give me a stick. But yeah, all in all, I am really excited. I think it'll be interesting to see, teams like the Joburg Super Kings. I think they've got three great top order batters in Devon Conway, Bairstow, and I think Faf. So it'll be
Yeah,
interesting to see how they sort of, plan their batting lineup. I think the Durban Super Giants have got quite a nice sort of well-rounded squad. I think Shamar Joseph is there and Brandon King. So I think it is a lot more open than, um, I want to say not the previous 2 years, but I just really am excited at the quality of cricketers that are coming. It's just a pity that Ben Stokes got injured.
mm, yeah,
Mm. Yeah, and
um,
Keenan, your thoughts? I'm gonna show the
yeah.
squad very soon, but let's just go into your thoughts first before we get there.
I'm actually surprisingly excited for the start of the SA20. I didn't think I would be, considering we just came off a brilliant test series, as we've been speaking about. But the SA20 has excited me. I It's a fun time of the year. The crowds are always packed, which is not something that's super common in like domestic. I know this is a franchise tournament, but in domestic cricket, the fields are really packed. So that's always exciting. And like Stuart mentioned, the quality of players. We've got Joe Root, we've got Kane Williamson. Like when do these players just end up on our shows and we get to watch them? Shamar Joseph is so exciting. We saw in Bistro
Mm.
Australia last year in Test match. So seeing just this caliber of players, and not just the caliber of players, the caliber of names. Like whether they perform or not, that's still Joe Root. So that's I think that's really exciting. The competition is I expect it to be a bit more tight, although East Sunrise, Eastern Cape, again, their squad's phenomenal. They've got every department is sorted. They won the first. We forget they won the first series with Tristan Stubbs not firing the first season. So uh, it's and then they won the second one with him firing. So I don't see them falling off the wagon at all. They've got probably the best death bowler in the country in Otniel Barkman. Um, they've got their bases covered completely. They've got a brilliant captain also, probably the best T20 leader in the country also. So it will be hard to see them beaten or seriously challenged, but we'll see, because all the teams are stacked. That they're so stacked that the benches look good, which is always a
Yeah,
good sign of a strong tournament.
yeah. So I'm just gonna go through the squads from a South African standpoint. I mean, Stuart did this for me this morning, so I'm just want to get this up quickly and show you guys basically what we're dealing with regards to the squads from a South African standpoint. Of course, you know that I'm going to obviously focus from a South African standpoint. I don't know why you guys are not on the screen. Wait, let me just check here. Let's do this one. Ah, that's better. Um, Still working out all of this. I've never done a screen share with three people on the screen before, so this is something new. You learn something every day. Anyway, so let's go into this particular squads. Um, right over here, we've got the Durban Super Giants. Obviously made it to the final, but did not get over the line, even though they had a firing. Heinrich Klaassen was absolutely on fire last season. I mean, wow.
Yeah,
I mean, he took that form straight into everything else he was playing in. But you got Matthew Breedsky, Quentin de Kock, Junior Dala, CJ King, yeah, Heinrich Klaassen. Keshav Maharaj, Vian Mulder, Bryce Parsons, Dwayne Pretorius, Jason Smith, John Smuts, and Brilliant O'Brien. And then the notable overseas players that Stuart has highlighted over here are Marcus Stoinis, Chris Wokes, Kane Williamson, Naveen Al-Haq, and we've got Shamar Joseph and Brandon King. Let's talk about the Durban Super Giants first. I mean, they are first on this list here, even though we know that the first fixture is MI versus Sunrisers in Abeja tomorrow. Let's talk about the Durban Super Giants. What do you guys think? Keshav obviously he's going to back himself. In the press said today, he was backing himself that they can maybe take one step further. The weather obviously played a massive role in their campaign last year. Started off well, and then the weather came and interfered, and actually didn't hinder them, helped them to get actually into a final in the end. But what's your thoughts on this team? It's obviously led by Lance Klusner. Your thoughts, guys? Who wants to go?
I don't mind going. So for me, I think the obvious standouts, there's a amount of all-rounders that they've recruited. I think it'll be interesting to see how they fit all of them in. I think John Smuts definitely could be a good option, and Jason Smith. But just in terms of batting positions and stuff like that, it'll be interesting to see how they rotate and all of that if guys get injured. I think obviously, Kane Williamson coming in as well will help strengthen the batting. I do think Matthew Gretzky, I know he played well at certain points last season, so I'm hoping that he can keep that form up. And yeah, I think the bowling as well, Junior Dala has also been quite good. From what I've seen, in last year in the CSA T20 Challenge. So yeah, all in all, I think they actually got a really underrated sort of squad, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think that's maybe Keenan, the part that I'm a little bit worried about with this team is probably the bowling side of things. I mean, we've seen Junior Dala. I know he's been quite a consistently picked in T20 sides across, for the Titans, of course now for this team as well. But I don't see he's not as consistent as I'd like from a senior bowler. You know what I mean? Like that's one worry about him. And then they've got a lot of guys that are like in the 120s, which might be really good, obviously, for T20 cricket. In T20 cricket, those slower bowlers actually do really well. So that's the one side maybe I'm a little bit worried about, because Kane Williamson, from a batting perspective, he does add that calmness to that attack that they have. They've got a lot of attacking batters here with attacking minded spirits like Quinton de Kock. Brzezinski is now turning into that. He tries to be aggressive up front in the power plays when he does open the batting. Heinrich Klaassen, obviously, we know how explosive he is. Marcus Stoinis, we know about him and how he approaches the game as an Aussie. So they do have that calmness in someone like Kane Williamson that comes into that mix, that maybe this calms down that attack if they do maybe get a quick wickets that fall. Your thoughts on the Durban Super Giants?
Junior Dala is an interesting one where he can pick up 5 wickets in a match, and he can also in a different match he can go for 70 runs. So it's what side of him you're going to get on the day. But he's, like you said, he's got a lot of pace, which can be a bad thing in T20 cricket, but it can also be a good thing depending on the batter. They are light in the bowling department, I think. Chris Wokes is a good swing bowler. Not that quick, and he can also go for runs, so that might be a concern. But I don't see who bowls the death overs here in this team, which could be a concern. They've got stacks of all rounders. I foresee Dwayne Pretorius like coming in at 9, just the way they'll set up this team and playing as an out and out just bowler, which is just based on the team. John Smuts and Bryce Parsons do the same thing. So it's like you got 2 of the same player there. So yeah, it's gonna be tough to see how Kesh and management, Lance Klusner all around himself, if they want another one. They've got, I don't know if they've picked so many, they might just slot him into. So I struggle to see how they'll balance this team, but there are a lot of quality players. Klaassen, Quinny de Kock, Breedske, they're all super players. Vian Mulder was brilliant last season. So they've got Jason Smith's got an international 90. So there's a lot of quality there. It's just how they balance the side, I think.
Yeah, I mean, from that perspective, you look at the Pressers last year, it sometimes looked like Lance Klusener wanted to pad up and go bat in some cases. He looked a little bit frustrated in some of those matches that he played. So I'm just going to move on there to the Joburg Super Kings. This is Stuart's team, eh, Stuart? JSK haven't performed to the levels that I thought they would in this SA20 so far. I mean, oh yes, okay, they scraped their way almost into a semi in, I think, in the first edition, wasn't, if I'm not mistaken. And then they didn't have the best of campaigns in the second one either. But I mean, a lot of experience. I mean, they've based their entire bloody team on experience. We've got a 40-year-old in here. We've got a 30, almost 40-year-old in here. We've got another almost 40. There's a lot of guys that are very experienced in this side, and they've gone with a more experienced type of team here. You do have some youth in between, but I mean, obviously, captained by Faf. A lot of exciting players here too. Guys like Evan Jones that has been talked about quite a lot, and he hasn't necessarily yet hit that peak that we all were hoping for. Vian Lubber's a very exciting player. He's moved now around a bit. He's played for a couple of franchises now in across the board, from Mzansi Super League now to this tournament. He's now moved around quite a bit. He's played in almost every single province so far over the last T20 tournaments. So he's an exciting player. You've got the likes of Imran Tahir with his experience. Addis Fulyun, that was a little bit of a shock for me. Addis, that he's still getting picked as one of the main picks, we would say, in a team. Moeen Ali, from an experience perspective, Moeen Ali, we know what he brings. He can obviously hit the ball a long way, and also he does provide a hell of a lot with the ball. It's time for Johnny Bairstow to step up in this tournament. Something that we hoping we can see. Faf spoke about Devin Conway today in the presser a little bit, coming back almost home, you could say, from his perspective. They said he had to almost learn Afrikaans again now, the way things have gone. Loose deploy, very talented. England is down as an England player ultimately because he's kind of registered, or not registered, but he's now available to be able to be picked for England. And then you've got these, obviously, the subcontinent players. They are always going to bring something different, whether it be swing bowling or whether they're going to bring a little bit of spin. I think Sri Lanka, for example, Pakistan, those countries are producing a hell of a lot of young talent that are coming through. Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, particularly, I feel they're starting to bring a lot of good fast bowlers through the system. That's something that maybe they have lacked in the last couple of years. But led by Stephen Fleming as coach. Keenan, I'm going to start with you. JSK,
I think
you think they're going to have a difficult tournament again?
I think absolutely anything could happen. They could finish top or they could finish bottom with these players. They've got some of the most, like, a lot of these players are extremely inconsistent, and it just depends on the day with them. You got Donovan Ferreira. Sorry, he just moved out of the Donovan Ferreira, off the top of my head, Moeen Ali, Vian Lubber. These guys, they perform, like, their form can be anything. Like they're extremely inconsistent, but they are match winners also. So it's really a toss up with the side. There's quite a few players where they can win you a game single-handedly and they can lose you a game single-handedly. So we'll see what I won't make any predictions on this side. I know, like, from a consistency perspective, it's Faf is always going to be consistent. Loose deploy is also extremely good. Maybe Johnny Bairstow, depends on what he comes, but he can be also consistent. But there's a number of players here who are yo-yos, to put it like that, with regards to form. So yeah, they could finish first or they could finish last. That's my prediction with JSK.
Yeah, just to add on, I think for one thing, sorry. Just to add on, I think the thing that's kind of like, what to shock me a little bit is the amount of spinners that they've got in their team as well. Um, I'd be interested to see if they play Shamsi and Tahir together. I know they have got Gerald Kutsia in the team and Kamal Foss and stuff, but as you guys said earlier, I think sometimes in T20 cricket, being the fastest bowler isn't always necessarily, like the be all and end all, because batters can literally just put their bats out and, tap you for six of the third man. So I'm a bit shocked at that. I do think, as you guys said, it is a very experienced squad. But I do think, Stephen Fleming is a great coach. I think he's also proved himself in the IPL. So yeah, I hope that they're a bit more consistent this year. I think they did have a better second season last season, if I'm not mistaken, than they did in the first season. So yeah, I think all in all, it is a good team. It's just again kind of going to be interesting to see how they fit everyone in because it's so stacked.
Yeah, and I mean with Lance Klusener only being 53, I think for he could probably make this JSK team at the moment. I mean, let's move on. Let's move on to the next team. There is MI Cape Town. Now, I don't know. I've never felt an affiliation to any team necessarily so far in this SA20 where I feel like I can say this is my team. You know what I mean? I know I'm from Cape Town. I go to Newlands. I watch all the games that the MI play. But I don't know. Is there something about the MI unit that hasn't made me feel like, oh wow, I'm 100% back in this team? Because a lot of the players that I like and that I follow and that I'm fans of are actually in Sunrisers Eastern Cape. It's players that I've had very good relationships as well on this channel. They've come on a lot and come to speak to us. So quite a bit before their career started. So I have like a kind of soft spot for SEC. Always had, before even the tournament started, I had a soft spot for them. And obviously Aiden Markham, everybody knows Aiden Markham's one of my favorite players. So yeah, so that makes it a little bit tricky. But my heart is in Cape Town ultimately, and I want MI to do well. It's just that they haven't really come to the party as I'd hoped for. But when it comes to their players, I mean, Corbin Bosch now recently getting a Proteas call up, doing decently in the matches that he has played. You've got Deva Brevis. I think this is the season that Deva Brevis needs to show us what he's actually worth, because we know how talented this boy is. We know how good he can be. And I feel that this should be easier, that he actually becomes or shows us the talent that we all know he has. Then you got Connor Esterhuizen. He's a very, very exciting player. That you got Riza Hendricks, who's South Africa's best T20 batter in inverted commas when you come to look at the stats and when you look at the awards he's been getting. A lot of people maybe don't fancy him for the Proteas to play, but he keeps on finding a way on how to put numbers on the board and get runs again, even though he goes through slumps. Because when he looks bad, he looks bad, and when he looks great, he looks amazing. So that's the problem with Riza. There's no in between really. It's very seldom that he has an in between performance. There was some where he maybe gets a quick 40 and then goes out, but that's very seldom that happens. He either gets really low scores and looks lost at the crease, or he looks fantastic, like he's $1 million. So it's going to be very interesting what's going to happen there. Colin Ingram was a very interesting one for me. I thought that we moved past that, a signing like that. I thought that South African teams would have moved past that, but they've gone for him again. Can be very explosive. But whenever I've seen him in South African tournaments, he has never really come to the party, even from before this SA20. Then we got Thomas Cabo, was a standout performer for MI last season. He brought something different. The question is going to be now: are people familiar with him? Are they not? Are they going to be able to play against him now, or is he going to take his game to the next level? We know what George Linder thinks about himself. We know what this channel thinks about George Linder. Very talented player over there. So great to see him. Tristan Loos is a very exciting player. I really actually like him. I like the amount of movement he gets with the ball. And Dane Pitt was another shocker that a lot of people might not have expected. But he brings experience, and he brings personality to the team, I would say. Gets along very well with the coach, Robbie P. So that's an interesting one. Then you got Delano Potgieter, bunch of potential, amazing ability. Just hasn't found that consistency in any formats that he's played, whether it be domestic cricket or for SA20. Kagiso Rabada, we know what we get. Ryan Rickleton, not so sure about his fitness and how many games he's actually going to play at the beginning of the tournament. Could we see him maybe towards the back end? I don't. We have to wait and see because hamstrings are very fickle injuries. It's a very fickle injury. Then you've got Rassie van der Dussen. I mean, Rassie was brilliant last season, so he's going to obviously look to keep that momentum going into this tournament. And then the notable overseas players are Chris Benjamin, Trent Boult. I'm excited about that one, of course. Always am. Like him as a player. Then Rashid Khan as well. I always struggle to pronounce this name, but Azmatullah Omarzai, and then you got the new one, Tusara, who's a really brilliant player. I like him a lot. So your thoughts on this? Ben Stokes obviously injured, so hasn't been selected in the squad again. He was pulled out of the squad. I was looking forward to Ben a lot. So Stu, let's go with you. MI, do you think they can have a good campaign?
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate, as you said, that Rickleton did get injured in the Test match. But I do think there's a lot of players in the MI squad that is in quite good form at the moment. If you look at Reza with his 100 at Centurion, I think also, guys like KG and Rassie, as you said, are great. The two sort of young players that I'm quite excited about with MI is Tristan Luce, who's a brilliant fast bowler. When I spoke to Alan Donald, he couldn't stop raving about him and the potential that he has. So I think he could be quite good. And then Chris Benjamin, I think, is also somebody that has got quite a lot of potential. He has played quite well in the 100, and I think he could be quite useful at the top of the order if required, kind of thing. I mean, obviously, Trent Boult and Rashid Khan. I think your bowling attack is going to be really, really good. That also, I think, should improve based on the players that they have got in the form that they're in at the moment.
Kido.
Yeah, this I so hard to speak about this team that they perennial underperformers. They could have anyone in the side. I wouldn't predict them to. You could have Jofra Archer and Sky and whoever. They just haven't been performing the last 2 seasons, regardless of who's there. And I also have a hot take with the side. My hot take is that they need a local captain. I think the first season they had Rashid Khan, second season they had Kieran Pollard, and then they're back to Rashid Khan this season. I just think the sides needs a local captain. They're the only one that doesn't have one. Someone familiar with the conditions. Kagiso Rabada is a keen leader. He loves the being a leader. So that's my hot take of the day. Stu, you had yours. And also I think looking at the players though, there's a lot of brilliant players. I think Trent Boult is perhaps in the top 3 best T20 bowlers in the world. Rassie's been excellent last season. He's a very good domestic T20 player, almost a bully sometimes. George Linder's arguably the best all-rounder in the country, in this format at least. It's just Ryan Rickleton's injury I know he was the leading run scorer last season, but I think his injury might be a blessing in disguise in the short term, because I think a top 3 of Ricks, Rassie and Reza, I don't think there's enough that I don't think that balance is right. So one of the 3 being out might help them in the short term, at least, with someone else coming in at 3, a more explosive batter coming in at 3. I think Omarzai I saw a lot of him at the T20 World Cup. Brilliant all-round talent. So, but I don't think I would, as a Cape Town local, as a fan of the side, if you are one, I wouldn't get your hopes up, despite the quality of players, just based on what they've been able to put together on the first 2 seasons.
Hmm. So we move on to the other Western Cape team, or other Cape Townian, you could say, to an extent, Western Cape team. So we got Paul Royals. This one is always interested me because I feel like they a team of fighters, man. They have this they almost overachieve, you could say, to an extent. When you look on paper and you see the players that they have, you don't expect them maybe to go do as well as they do, particularly in their home ground. They're brilliant. Whenever people go to Paul, they seem to be really, really strong there. But we've got Keith Dudgeon, got Bjorn Fortuin. We know what he brings. Every single SA20 tournament, he's been one of the top players. You've got Dayan Khalim, which is very exciting. We saw how he performed for the Proteas. He really impressed me personally on his debut. You got Ruben Herman, who's can be a very explosive player on his day. Quena Mapaka, exciting, of course. We've got the left arm seam that pace. Devon Murray is one of my favorite players, actually, from an S under 19 perspective that I've seen or I saw at that World Cup. He impressed me actually the most out of everybody, with Steve Stolk and Leandro Pretorius and all of those guys that we hear about now. Devon Murray was the one that actually stood out to me personally. I like the way he plays the game, how aggressive he is, how exciting he is as a player. Then you obviously got the captain, the skipper, David Miller. They made a couple of jokes that towards the knockout phase, his baby might be born. Is he going to pick baby or is he going to pick trophy? So that's going to be the big question that they asked with regards to him. Then Lungingidi, I'm not 100% fully sure how fit he actually is currently. He was having a lot of injury issues, particularly missing out a lot of games for the Proteas. So hopefully he's fully fit, because he's the key bowler in this format, in my opinion, particularly for the Royals. Now, but Peter, you got that wrist spin in there to kind of counter Bjorn Fortuin's type of spin. Then we got Andile Pegelkwayo. Less said about him, I guess. Recently, I think this is going to be something that he needs to really, really step up in this tournament and show that he's the player that he was so many years ago. Can he live up to that? Can he be the player that they are hoping he can be in this particular team? Because he hasn't been the most consistent player, no matter where he plays, whether it is domestic, whether it is international, or whether it is in SA20. So I hope that he can come to the party. Then we've got one of Stu's favorite players, Luandre Pretorius. It's another exciting young player, explosive player. At the top of the order, he can be really devastating if he's going to open. I don't know if they're going to risk that and maybe just give him that go and let him play there. Mitchell van Buren, brilliant player. I think I wish we could see a lot more of him, actually, than we do. We don't. I don't think we get to see enough of this guy. I hope he gets consistent opportunities, because there was a lot of shuffling last year at the Paul Royals where he was in and out of the team. Cody Yusuf, very consistent bowler. You will almost always get a minimum 6 out of 10 from him, minimum. Like he's that type of bowler for me. He always just comes to the party. He might not always get wickets, but he'll be economical, you know what you're going to get from Cody Yusuf. I think I like Cody Yusuf a lot. I think he brings a lot. Yeah, might not have been like someone that's going to take you fifers, but he'll chip away at the team and make it difficult, and I like that. And he runs in hard and he works hard. So even on a flat deck in Paul, sometimes he can be very, very key to your bowling attack. Then in the notable overseas players, you've got Sam Hain, Dinesh Karthik, an Indian player for a change. I mean, I didn't think we'll ever see Indian players in the SA20, but here's one of the first ones that are going to be here. Ishan Malinga. We know we've seen enough of him, guys. Joe Root, Mujib Al Rahman, very talented player there, and then Tunit Welelage. I don't know how to pronounce it properly. I always struggle. But yeah, let's get into that. Who went last? I can't remember. You go first. The one that went last. Stu, go ahead.
Sorry.
Also, sorry, Trevor Penny. I mean, don't know, the coach, Trevor Penny. I'm not.
I also don't really know too
but continues to.
I think they've got quite a good bowling lineup if I look at it. But the batting is also quite good. I think guys like Quena, Cody Yusuf, I think, are going to be quite good for them. I'm glad you mentioned that I'm probably in the Luhandre fan club, or probably the chair of it at the moment. Um, I think obviously watching the Titans in the T20 challenge, I would open with him because I think in the power play he could be quite good. But having said that, from what I've watched of him, he does seem to play spin quite well as well. So that could be an option. I also think, like Lungi, I'm not sure what's happening with his injury. But I think, obviously at the back end of the innings, if he is fit to play, he could be quite useful with his cutters and slower balls as well. So I think all in all, they should be quite, I won't say competitive. It sounds a bit pessimistic, but I think they could actually be quite a sort of under the radar sort of team that no one really sees coming. But again, I think they also like the Super Kings, or one of those teams that um, could either be, on the day play a world class sort of match, or get bowled for 90 kind of thing. So all in all, I do think they are quite competitive. I am interested to see how Andile plays in this series as well. Um, well, yeah, competition. Sorry, and I do think the overseas players as well, with Joe Root and Kartik specifically, will also add a lot of experience to what looks like quite a sort of young team, generally speaking.
Yeah, I think just to follow on, if you the big name players have to show up in this team.
Yeah.
Your David Millers, your Joe Roots, they just have to show up. If they don't, this team could capitulate. In saying that, also Bjorn Fortuin, he's never disappointed. I don't think he's ever had a bad SA20 match. Ever. Um, Loandre Pretorius, stick him up the order, let him play, let the boy play. He's the most. I mean this in a good way. He's the most disrespectful batter in the country. He treats he treats grown men with utter disdain. I watched his first class 100 for the Titans. It's
Yeah.
just ruthless the way he goes about his business. Just I know he's inexperienced. I know this is perhaps the highest level he's played, but stick him up the order. He's got the even if he gets found out technically or whatever. I know he's got the cajoons to handle what needs to be handled at this level. Ngaba Peter also, I think, good opportunity for a guy like him. He's had an up and down international to start his international career. I think he's a brilliant bowler. At domestic level, at least, I've seen him be a lot more consistent than he is at international level. I think he's probably the best wrist spinner in the country at domestic level for like Shamsi and those guys. So I'd love to see him just. I think there's a good opportunity for him to sort of bridge the gap. Because domestic level is brilliant, international level is up and down. So just this is just in between that to sort of bridge the gap and get him to perform consistently at a higher level. So yeah, this is an extremely youthful side. Anything can happen, but the big name players they've got to show up for this side, I believe.
Yeah, it's a pity that actually Shams is not there at the Royals, because I think
Yeah,
that would have been a nice person for him to learn from, or even a
yeah,
Tahir or someone. It would be nice if he was at his home ground, if he was playing at
mm,
JSK with Imran Tahir. It would have been brilliant to have Ngaba
yeah,
Peter them and to learn from these guys.
mm,
Unfortunately, he's going to have to be that guy for the team, because the spinners are sought out
mm,
after, and they're a special breed. Let's move on to the
mm,
Pretoria Capitals. Interesting one, this one, because you'd expect the Capitals to be one of those teams that consistently will make knockouts, and they have so far managed to do so. Sometimes by the skin of the teeth, they get there, but they're an interesting bunch of players. I was a little bit shocked by the captaincy appointment. I've never seen Riley Rousseau as a captain in my eyes, personally, because he's quite a quiet guy, just does his thing, he's on his own, quite a introvert, I would say. So he's going to have to be the type of leader probably that's going to have to lead from the front, in my opinion. But you've got quite a lot of talent over here. You've got Marcus Ackerman, Ethan Bosch is someone that a lot of people like on this channel, particularly as well. Very talented all rounder. Maybe just doesn't have that pace that would probably push him towards a Proteas call up. I feel that if he had a little bit pace or close to his brother's pace, he'd probably be there ahead of his brother, Corbin. But he's very skillful. That's the one thing. If you have the pace in your side and then add a Ethan Bosch to your team, then you're styling. And I think that's why he does well at the Capitals, because you've got the likes of Darren de Pavlin over here, quick bowler, runs in hard. His work ethic's incredible. The rookie wicketkeeper, I don't know too much about Keegan Lyon Cachet, or Cachet, or however you pronounce it. I need to learn about him this tournament. And then you got Senator Mutasami, very talented. We've seen him for the Proteas. What I like about him is he has an amazing ability to focus on the task at hand. And I think that's something that makes me like Senator. And he might not be your fifer bowler all the time, but when he does the job that you need him to do. And that's something that I like about him. How much game time we're going to see him get, I don't know. But it's an interesting signing. Then you got Anik Nokia. Hopefully, he's fully fit from that injury, and we're going to see a lot of him. Wayne Parnell, he hasn't performed at the levels that I would have hoped he would. He hasn't necessarily been that all-star all-rounder that I thought he would be in this tournament. So we need to see him come to the party. Michal Pretorius, I mean, enough said about him. I mean, he's brilliant. I mean, I want to see him get a lot more game time and play. Ryder So, I've always spoken about him in the past. I've said, he's a type of player that will score you 100 one day and then score you 3 ducks or 3 low scores after that, and then another century. So very inconsistent. Kyle Simmons, this guy is a standout player for me. I think Kyle Simmons' mentality is absolutely phenomenal. He just finds ways to put his team into good positions. Even when he came into the JSK team, I don't remember if it was last season or the season before. It might have been last season. He came towards the end and really helped him in a spot of bother when he was brought in late because he didn't get signed in the initial window. So they brought him in as a player late on, and he did phenomenally well. Steve Stoke, it's another player that we know that Stuart likes. It's on that list as well. I'm hoping to see him. It's a big risk to select him, I feel. Because he hasn't necessarily shown us the full extent of his power, similarly to like Theo Brevis, but he's a lot younger, so we can give him that grace. Tian van Vuren, I like him as an all-rounder. He's decent. He's quick, tall guy as well. Calverena, that's a player that I feel is almost like your wild card in a way, because he can be extremely brilliant on the day. That's something about Kyle, and he scored a very important knock in this tournament already. And then your notable overseas players, I see there's a little bit of an editing thing that I'm making a mistake there with. Sorry, guys, but it's notable overseas players. We've got Gurbaz there. His talent. Will Jacks can be brilliant, can be crap. It's in between shit and good with him. And then you got Liam Livingston, who is probably the one that I'm most disappointed about from MSL right through to now. I think he's disappointed me the most because I really thought that he was going to light up these T20 tournaments and just smack the ball all around the ground, because that's his ability. That's what he has in his locker. Jeremy Neesham, consistent, brings you exactly what you need. And then you've got Will Smead. And Jonathan Trott, a Rondebosch boy, England as well, played for England. And yeah, he's the coach, Stort Keenan.
Yeah, I think this team could go all the way. I think this is an underrated side. Look at the pace here. Darren de Pavlon, Andrich Nokia, Miguel. I'm not familiar with Tian van Vuren, but you said he's got gas as well. I think that's so much. They could blow teams away. I think they could blow teams away. And Gurbaz, Jacks, Livingston, those are match winners as well. Might not be as consistent, but I think they are match winners that can win games on their own. And then you've got Mutasami, never lets you down. Kyle Simmons, never lets you down. I think this is a quite an underrated side. I think they will surprise a few teams. I think they've got the potential to go a long way. Obviously, Parnell's now been stripped of the captaincy for whatever reason and given to Rousseau. Rousseau, another match winner. Not consistent, but he can score 150 balls. So yeah, I think it's a very interesting side. Cal, like you mentioned, scored a brilliant century last season. I think he'll be the first choice wicketkeeper. And he's got this air of confidence around him. I think he'll do really well. Marcus Ackerman's very talented, hasn't kicked. I think very talented, but hasn't kicked on as much in the T20 leagues. Not really his game, but he can turn it on. I think. I'll be surprised if he plays more than a handful of games. However, um, but I think it's a good, well-rounded side with a lot of pace. Playing at Centurion at Supersport Park will help the pace attack. So I think it's an exciting squad. It's a side where you can almost see the level, immediately see who's going to be on the bench and who's going to be the starting 11, which is unlike most of the other teams. So I think the first 11 picks itself, and then the other guys will be fighting for places.
Would you call them the dark horses of the tournament for you, Keenan?
I think this is my dark horse side. I'm not sure. I don't know if Riley Rousseau has the ability to lead a team to a title. In all honesty, I would have given the captaincy to someone else. I like the way Mutasami leads, but however, I don't know if he's going to be a regular in the side. But this is my dark horse side, the Pretoria Capitals.
Cool, awesome. Stuart, is this your team?
Yeah, touch wood. You guys are bigging them up quite a bit, so I'm touching wood that they do win this year. I think I agree. Like the pick that kind of shocked me a little bit was Mark Ackerman. I don't necessarily know enough about him in T20 cricket to, comment on him. I think he has been a consistent 4-day batter, and I think he's had a decent 1-day game, so it did shock me a little bit. Also,
he had a good MSL. One season
he
MSL, he
well
was
in
really
MSL?
good. One season for Blitz, he was really good. But I mean, since then, he hasn't really, lit up the T20 stage, I would say.
Okay. I do think, like, I was quite shocked that Parnell lost the captaincy because I thought specifically in the first season he was great at captaining, and I know he obviously captained the under 19, so I was quite shocked about that. And obviously also about Riley replacing him. But I do think there's enough support around Riley to help him. I do think also the young players that we've got with Steve Stoke, as you said, I'm a huge, huge fan of his as well. I don't think he's played enough sort of franchise cricket for us to kind of say, oh, he definitely should get a place. But I think it would be quite nice having him have another season in the team. And I also think, an underrated sort of appointment for me, and it's not anything against Graham Ford. I also liked him as well. He did well with Ireland and coaching KP and all of that. But I really, really am so happy that Jonathan Trott is our new coach. I think we saw how well Afghanistan did in the World Cup, and I think he is sort of like an Adrian Burrell type person, no pressure, that can get teams almost play above the station, and I think that's what we kind of need. But yeah, all in all, I really am happy. I hope Nokia's fits because it was so much fun watching both Thunderbolts. So yeah, hopefully we can go all the way. Sorry, I shouldn't say we, but yeah.
Yeah, doesn't matter, bro. We are fans on this channel. That's what we're here for. We cricket fanatics. We're not cricket journalists. We're not the cricket fanatic. We necessarily we do write and we do stuff, but we make fans first at heart. It's what gives this channel a different spin than other channels on the YouTube or the YouTube space. Okay, let's move on to the final team. I can see Keenan getting tired already of us. So let's. I'm just joking. We've got the Sunrisers Eastern Cape. Let's get into this. I mean, we know this is the defending champions, 2 in a row. Can they do the three-peat is the big question. They compared them to the Box today in the press conference. So can there be that team? Adam Markham says he doesn't know if that is a a title that's fitting to them. But I feel I'm not going to go through all the players we know. Majority of them. I mean, that we've seen them. We know they are very talented players. We know because they are the champions of this particular tournament twice in a row. But I'm interested to see Daniel Smith. I mean, I'm a big fan of Daniel Smith. And I'm going to also mention David Bellingham because, I mean, that guy can be really explosive and how they're going to utilize him. And we obviously got the likes of Adrian Burrell again as coach. I think that has been the key to this whole team success. I think the way he coaches a team, way he makes team players feel about their ability is what makes him a brilliant coach. When they were talking about Proteas coaches for White Ball, Adrian was in my list as one of the top targets I felt that they should have gotten as a White Ball coach for South Africa. That's how highly I rate him as a coach. I think he's brilliant in creating team environments and winning environments, and he makes players believe in their ability. And he does so without being an asshole. And that's what I think is important. He's a brilliant human being. He takes an effort to be. He's South African through and through. He speaks Xhosa. I mean, he speaks multiple languages. He's a brilliant man. And he's someone that I really would like to interview again one day, in a little bit more in depth. I didn't. I would like a long, nice sit down interview actually with him to really get into his mind. But he's not a person that likes, the mic or likes interviews. I mean, even press conferences, you could see it's not his favorite thing to do, but he kind of has to do it. The overseas players, you've got the likes of Tom Abel, Zach Crawley, Liam Dawson. Zach Crawley obviously coming off great test form. Richard Gleeson, Craig Overton, and Rula van der Merwe again, who they keep picking. He just keeps to be that. He keeps being that little pit bull bulldog type of vibe in every single team. Some people call him Jack Russell. Some might call him a pit bull. So he's in between those two. I guess he's a blend or a brack of the two. So let's talk about Keenan. Stuart, I'm going to give Stuart this one first because you went on his team last. So, Stu, have a go.
Yeah, again, I think they've got a really well-rounded squad. It's also quite interesting to see, I think, out of all the teams, they look like they've sort of kept or retained most of the squad from the first two seasons, which I think has contributed to the team being successful, is that stability. I'm really excited to see guys like Simelane come in and play. I think some people with the protests, some people will come saying, "Oh, was he selected too early?" Or I think this would be a nice opportunity for him to kind of prove himself. Not so it's probably the wrong way of wording it, but kind of just perform well and hopefully back up his selection. I think also guys like Bartman, as we mentioned earlier, is the best death bowler in the country. Also think guys like Jordan Hammond. I don't know if it was last season. He got a
Who's
really
Dyson?
sorry. He got a really great. I think it's 100 or something. I don't know if it's that Centurion. But I also think a lot of the overseas players that they've added to this stacked South African lineup, like Zach Crawley, for me, I haven't seen a lot of him in T20 cricket, but some fans may argue that baseball is quite similar. So I think he could be quite good at the top of the order. Richard Gleeson, I think, he's performed quite well. And yeah, I think Adrian Burrell, if, as you said, if Rob Walter is replaced after the Champions Trophy, could definitely be in the conversation to replace him, along with guys like maybe Wandile, Wabu. So yeah, I really hope that another team wins it, and preferably the team from Victoria. But I think, in all honesty, that team is again looking quite strong. I'll be shocked if they don't finish in the top 3.
Well, Guys, there we have it. I'm just going to read out quickly the fixtures for you. We've got the first match. It starts tomorrow at 5:30. Sunrise Eastern Cape versus MI Cape Town in Gqeberha. Match number 2 is the Durban Super Giants, which is on Friday against Pretoria Capitals. We've got a interesting one. I'm going to into the press conference on Friday for that one. And then on Saturday, I'm going to Paul for the Paul Royals versus Sunrise Eastern Cape. It starts at 1 o'clock in Paul in the middle of the heat there. It's going to be a tough one. We might have to take out those ice packs again for the photographers, etc. Because the last time they went Paul for a SA20 game in the heat, they had to use the aircons as cooling down systems for their laptops because it was just switching off. People's phones were switching off, and it was madness. So hopefully they're more prepared this time around at the stadium. And it's a double header that day. So Joburg Super Kings are going to play MI Cape Town in Johannesburg. And then on Sunday, we've got Pretoria Capitals taking on Durban Super Giants at 3:30 start on Sunday. So those are the first couple of fixtures for you over this weekend time. And then I'm going to be going to Newlands for MI Cape Town's first game against the Royals, a derby in Cape Town. So that's what we got for you today. We've got some content on the channel, on social media as well. Keep an eye out on that. Follow Cricket Fanatics Mag on all platforms, particularly also on Instagram. We will be looking for you in the stadium, taking photos and tagging you in on those photos as well. So please go ahead and follow us and find us in the stadium if you can. We will be seeing a lot more content, hopefully, from both of these guys throughout the tournament. Maybe from me and Keenan will probably be live at the stadium for those type of stuff in between his work that he has to do because he's a very busy guy, guys. So we need to respect that as well. But guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. I hope you guys all enjoyed this episode. Thanks, Keenan. Thanks, Stuart, for coming on the show. It was brilliant. I really enjoyed chatting to you. And I'll see you guys all again very, very soon. Stay safe. Don't forget to smash the like button. That's very important. Also, very important that comment after the season ended. That's how we get into recommended feeds. So please go ahead and do that. Subscribe, click that notification bell for all future videos. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you guys very, very soon. Peace out.